And we're back with another episode of Franchise My Business, the podcast for franchisors, hosted by franchisors. I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and we are going to talk about franchising across different brands, and then furthermore, how that can lead to philanthropic efforts. So I have Mr. Paul Flick on today. He founded 360 Degree Painting back in 2006. The brand quickly grew into one of the top painting franchises in the nation, and soon thereafter, Paul just started rolling up other home services brands. And he's got a really great family of companies called Premium Service Brands. It's now an industry leader with over 1,000 units and 9 brands. Now, one of the things that we're going to tap into today is that Paul he's a passionate philanthropist. He founded Kids Lift, which is a nonprofit affiliate. And it's a pretty cool thing because starting in 2008, they started helping get clothes, food, school supplies, and all sorts of other things to kiddos who are underprivileged in the local communities. And we love kids. So that's a heck yes. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So let's go back to 2006. 2006. Actually, what were you doing in 2005 before you started painting?
We had set up the actual prototype of 360 painting in 2005, and we took the next 12 to 18 months to really refine what marketing strategies were working, the software, training, putting all the operation manual together in preparation for franchising, and we kicked that off in the fourth quarter of 2006. Still in painting in 2005, but was focused on building out the 360 painting concept.
That's awesome. So with 360, did you guys build it to franchise from day one?
That is correct. Yes. We were building all of the systems, the support, the technology right from day one to franchise.
That's cool. I mean, it's almost like 50-50 in terms of our guests. Some people build something amazing and they're like, wow, we're going to expand, and what do we do next? And it's like the accidental franchisor. Maybe they didn't even know about franchising when they launched. And then maybe the other half are like, yeah, we're going to build this thing from the ground up so that others can run the model, which is an awesome way to build a business as well. So why painting?
So I got my first taste of painting and franchising back in my university days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm originally born and raised in Canada, and there's a student painting industry. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but during the summer, that's what I was doing to make money and to pay for college the following year. That's where I got my first taste in painting and franchising, was back in my college days.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's a pretty common thing, right? We see a lot of, there's a brand that starts with a C, and we won't mention any of your competitors on the air, but I believe that they employ a bunch of college kids, right? I think that's the model is, hey, they get college kids come in during the summer, at least when it's nice in Kansas City and you can actually paint houses. So yeah, very cool. And then you fell in love. Who knows if you fell in love with the industry, but you decided to start a painting biz and then share that biz with others, which is cool.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So how long until you did your first acquisition then?
So the first acquisition would have been Made Right. I'd started 360 painting organically, then started Pro Lift garage doors organically. That was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And then our first acquisition was Made Right in 2018.
Okay.
And from there, I did one more organic, which was Handyman Pro.
Yep.
We eventually folded that operation into House Doctor when we acquired that a couple of years ago. But for me, once we had built out the platform to really get scale, it was easier to do acquisitions that gave you an immediate footprint versus organic startups.
Love it. Love it. And when you're like, how do you go about acquisitions? Are some people will go out and raise money to do these types of opportunities, and some of them will basically self-fund them. Friends that have built behemoth businesses flipping houses, like they own hundreds of them, and they've just taken that and they've snowballed the profits, and then they've organically basically they've created their own little private equity fund of real estate. That's what you're doing in your biz. Do you guys bring on investment partners? Have you been self-funding? Like, how have you structured these acquisitions?
Yeah, the first handful were self-funded, bootstrapped. Who we were acquiring it from was taking paper back, a promissory note. So lots of different ways there. And then it was in March of 2020, I sold 20% of the company to Susquehanna Private Capital.
Okay, cool.
And they have been an amazing partner, but they've also been able to put us in a position where we can draw down on acquisition.
Yeah.
And that's allowed us to really go out and get bigger deals and to scale that much quicker. And that's really where we got the Ruderman, the House Doctors, Grout Medic, Window Gang, etc.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so that was just over a couple of years ago.
Yeah, at some point it's good to have. I was actually just listening to an episode of All In, and maybe that's why I'm like in acquisition mode in terms of conversations, but it's a podcast. Just some of the guys who made a lot of money in Web 1.0, the very first iteration. And they were talking about acquisitions and structuring deals and all those things. And I always seen growth through acquisition and building like a holding company with shared services is a really smart business model. So that's really cool. And everything you guys are doing revolves around the home. Is that correct?
That is correct. Our end user is the exact same end user across all 9 of our brands.
Beautiful.
And you're right. The shared resources are very powerful because we're able to test things in different systems and find out what is best in class processes and be able to implement that across the other brands as well. So I'm a big proponent of shared services.
Yeah, I love shared services. Like they're just awesome. And so for people who may be early in their game, shared services is what a franchise system is. It's just another word for it. You guys have a buffet of services, as I explained to our franchisees, and some of the things are required to use and some of them are optional, but the top performers are typically eating something from all the buffet items. And the buffet is your shared services. It's next level stuff to go share those services across multiple brands when you have a company like Premium Service Brands. If you want to learn more about Premium Service Brands and all of their brands, go check them out online, because what I want to do, I love kids. I love philanthropic stories, and we may circle back to some of the franchise stuff, but I want to talk about what you guys are doing for kiddos. That's what I want to. That's what I would like. We can come back to this. We can come back and talk about business and acquisitions and nerdy stuff if we want to. But I'm somebody like me and my wife, we always, she likes to play the lottery sometimes. When it gets above $1 billion, my wife goes and buys lottery tickets. We never play. I'm like, well, okay. And so then we have this fun exercise of what we would do with it. And we actually go through it with our children. And we're like, man, because that's so much money that what would you, like, you can't, it's better deployed with people who need it. Right. And so we're big givers. And so we dream about all these little silent nonprofits that we would go and just basically support behind the scenes and just write them. Here's a $3 million check. Here's a $5 million one. You're good forever. Like little local nonprofits. Right. And it sounds like what your guys are doing is like on that localized basis. So
it is.
Tell us all about your nonprofit.
Sure. Kids Lift was a huge part of my vision for Premium Service Brands. First of all, I love kids, and a child does not get to choose the family that they are born into. And I feel very grateful for the family I was born into. I was given food and was exposed to sports and travel. And not every kid gets that because they don't choose to be in a family. And so those kids, those families need help, need support. And the basic support is food and clothing. And we do also back to school pencils and backpacks and stuff like that. But the primary driver is really the food and the clothes. So it all started, honestly, wanted to do something, but then we had a special needs child in 2008. She was our first daughter, or our only daughter. We have a son as well. And I'm a big proponent as well, as you have to have a purpose-driven life. Mm-hmm. And I knew she wasn't going to have a mainstream life. She wasn't going to work for IBM or Ford or Coca-Cola. And I wanted to give her a platform or a place to go and really feel fulfilled every day and help with children. So she's only 15, so she's got a few more years before she has to make that decision. But this is something that she can really be involved in. So when we kicked it off, it was just something as simple as going to our local schools here in Charlottesville, and we would do weekend backpacks. Mm-hmm. And we would fill them with food, enough to get them through the weekend, because those were the kids that were on the school eating program, and they would get breakfast, they'd get lunch and a snack, but nothing over the weekends or holidays. So it all started with my two kids packing backpacks, and we would drop them off at the schools. And then that sort of just blossomed in and grew into other initiatives locally here, from Oakland School, other schools in the city of Charlottesville. And now the vision is once we had a model down of how you get to, at the local level, grassroots, integrate your business and your name into the community, then we could have our franchise partners participate in that. So Vivi Nellen, who is the head of our Kids Lift and our vice president of communication, she's done a phenomenal job of really doing that outreach to the franchise partners who have really bought into the mission of helping kids in their local community. And there's really 4 different activities throughout the year that they participate in. They have to choose a minimum of 2 of those activities. They don't have to do all 4. We as a company will provide them all the materials, swag, giveaways, handouts, anything that they need to facilitate that. So it's no out-of-pocket cost for the franchise partners. Obviously, they're going to have to invest some time, but it really allows them to co-brand with 360 Painting or ProLift Garage Doors with Kids Lift and really get into their community and do great things for kids that do need help, but also do get some positive exposures for their business.
I love that, because our franchise system, we've partnered with the Kansas City Chiefs organization, Chiefs Ambassadors, and which are retired players. And the Chiefs Ambassadors' sole job, it's retired players, is come into the community, raise money that gets poured back into our local community, with a big component of that being kiddos. And being able to take that, we can't roll out the Chiefs Ambassadors nationally. Okay, that only works in Kansas City. So you have taken your own, hey, here's a do-good opportunity. And frankly, it's a great marketing tool for your franchisees, because they can go into their local market and have a social media driven type of opportunity to show that they're members of the community and contributing and giving back, which is a Trojan horse.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And then your vision gets to get executed exponentially at scale, more than you could do in Charlottesville.
That's exactly it. It just allows us to have a footprint that we could never do out of Charlottesville, Virginia, through our franchise partners. And they've just embraced it. They love being part of doing good for their community, doing good for these kids. And in turn, as you said, it's a marketing initiative for them as well,
100%.
because they get to co-brand with the initiatives in their local level or local towns and cities. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun. How long have you guys been doing that?
Kids Lift, it was around 2015, 18 when we really officially launched it.
Yeah. And I know about that school lunch thing too, because there was, our church did an initiative and does one every summer. But one summer I went and we would make lunches for these kids during the summer and then take them to the communities, because again, school wasn't in session. So that's when I got made aware of this issue. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, like in COVID era, there was a lot of free lunches through the government, but that's a big thing, is like food poverty for a lot of kiddos. They rely on schools to get it. So it's cool that you're able to fill that gap. Let's go back and talk about franchising, but I want to make sure that I want to make sure we touched on that, because I thought that was like such a cool thing. And I know a lot of people talk about doing like purpose-driven business, purpose-driven decisions, but I think it's rare that we actually get to hear how one of those things has gone from grassroots, localized level to being able to then take it out, frankly, nationally and internationally, because you're in Canada and the United States. So thanks for sharing that. Hopefully that'll empower some other entrepreneurs to think about ways through their franchise system they may be able to use that as a platform for good.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Heck yeah, man. This show's all about you. So you've got a lot of brands. I'm sitting here looking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you have? 10 brands under
9
brands under the umbrella. How common is it that you have a franchisee of one brand and then they're flying flags of some of your others? Is that a common thing?
Yeah, so it's becoming more common. We call it stacking. Where
okay.
A franchise partner who launches their first brand sees success, has predictability in their business and infrastructure of maybe a general manager, sales reps, multiple crews. And then they're ready to take on something different. So they could expand their existing territory if it's available and have 2 territories of 360 or 3 or 4, or they can stack and they can put 360 painting on, put House Doctor on top of that, Closet Wise on top of that, whatever they deem is benefits their existing business. But we've always made a conscious effort to ensure that the franchisee's end customer is exactly the same across all 9 brands.
Okay.
So once they're in the house, once they've paid for that customer acquisition, whether it's through social media, home advisors, or pay-per-click campaign, they can now, once they create a great experience for that customer and they've done good work, they've got the trust of the customer, they can now offer them another service.
Yeah.
Because the same person that is going to have a company paint their house is the same customer that's going to have somebody install closets, do handyman work, do plumbing. So that helps them reduce their customer acquisition costs. It also allows them to scale quicker because they're already in the home and offer another service.
Right. Yeah, to me it makes all the sense in the world. And we did like pretty big house remodeling project a couple years ago. We had a closet guy. We had a painter. We had just a variety of those different services, subcontractors coming in to make that project a success. And man, would it have been a lot easier if we could have just talked to 1 or 2 people instead of all these other companies and serving as just a GC ourselves, right? So that's cool because ultimately people buy from people. Sure, our brands matter and our brand promise matters. But moreover, when we're talking about doing something, particularly to our home, where we lay our head at night, trust with your local person who's talking to you about doing that work on the home is probably more important than anything else. And my assumption like, if you trust that person to do your painting, you had a good experience. Hey, I need closets, or hey, I need fill in the blank. It's a very easy decision point for that consumer to say, hey, I'm going to hire you under your other brand.
No, absolutely. And it creates multiple revenue streams for that franchise partner. It also helps offset any seasonality in one of their brands, like painting, when the winter slows down. So they're able to focus on that. And we have launched, we've done pilot testing in Atlanta, Charlottesville, and Houston on a platform we call Nesto. It's mynesto.com.
Okay.
And it's really our mini home advisors.
Oh, really?
So anytime a customer asks or requests an estimate, they have a job underway, job completed, we are cross-marketing to those customers the other services we have in that area. So we're able to help, obviously, the franchise partners scale quicker, reduce their customer acquisition costs because they don't pay for those leads. Those are internal leads we are trying to work and help getting the franchise partner in front of that customer. So it's becoming more. You asked the question of how many people are doing it. We saw a significant increase in the first half of this year, and I think we'll continue to see that as we're putting in assets and tools to help them scale on their stacking initiative.
I love the fact that you've created like your own captive home advisor. That's not a small thing, because let's just talk about some of the pain points in home services. I also own a digital marketing company, and the portals are expensive. If you look at all these places that you can go buy leads, they're not great for the consumer and they're not great for the person buying the leads. Like, they're just not great solutions.
No, and they're very competitive leads, because that one lead from Home Advisor is going to go out to 3, 4, 5 different contractors. Yeah. And you may not have responded quick enough. Maybe your price is too high, whatever it is. If we can eliminate, or not eliminate, because we'll never eliminate home advisors, but if we can offset and help and support the franchise partners so that they can get additional leads in a different avenue that has no customer acquisition costs, then we want to partner with them to do that.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're not like selling those leads to your franchisees. It's like a service that you're offering, which is awesome. It's also going to make the first time franchisee a little bit easier for them to say yes to joining one of your brands. I think that's probably one of the things that if you're a first-time franchisee, you've never owned a business, you're like, hey, how am I going to go build my business? That's why you join a franchise. But when you've got within the franchise more assets that generate leads and exclusive leads, that's just a heck yes. It makes your life easier. So the headline is, for somebody who's listening, if you're a potential franchisee, is that You got to generate leads in whatever type of business you franchise. Unless you open a brick and mortar where people come to you, but most service businesses, you're going to be going to somebody. You got to figure out your customers, and you're going to pay for that one way or another. So why not just partner with your franchise and pay them in terms of royalty or marketing fee or whatever it is, and keep that in-house versus going to one of the big guys who doesn't care about you. Okay. I said that out loud. I said it out loud. It's my show. I can say whatever I want, and Home Advisor does not care about you.
You're right.
They care about their shareholders. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see what else. So you've got a cool mixture of businesses. You've got some that I want to hit on, like revenue, right? So you've got some that are, I would consider to be probably one-time revenue. Not a lot of people paint their house more than once, although people are staying in place more now. But then you've got quite a few that I would assume have, or a few that would have a recurring component to them. So your Made Biz, what other ones? House Stalkers, you guys have any like maintenance plans or anything? Like what are the recurring revenue channels in your buses?
The true 100% recurring revenue model is Made
Right.
Cleaning people's homes. You're doing it every week, every 2 weeks. So that is the true recurring revenue model. We do have maintenance contracts programs with House Doctor.
Do you?
Somebody can engage in getting their honeydew list done once a month or once a quarter, and they pay on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and they get so many hours. So there is that maintenance programs, which is great. And on painting, I know you talked about that, but what we see in painting is if I come to your house and I paint the exterior of it, typically you'll have me back 2 more times to paint the interior.
You will?
Before the exterior is redone. So it is definitely not recurring like weekly or every other week. Every 2 years, that homeowner will have something painted.
That's cool. And it's also cool that you guys are interior and exterior, because like the gentleman who painted our house, he's more of an exterior guy than an interior guy. Let's just put it that way. He can do interior.
Yep.
You probably don't want him to. You want him to do the exterior. And so it's cool that you guys have specialists. It really sounds like home is covered under your brands. We've got everything that we could potentially want to do. Maybe are you lacking electricity?
I am, but I'm open to taking it on if there's one.
Sounds like if you've got an electrical business, I've got a friend who might want to talk to you. You've got plumbing going on, so there we go. If people want to learn more about you or your family of brands, like where's the best place for them to go to get plugged in?
The website is the best place. Yeah. It will give you all of the brands we have, and then you'll be able to click on ones and get more granular with them in terms of the business model, the investment range that it will take to start up. So it's premium service brands, plural.com is where they're going to find the most information about the individual brands, about the leadership team, and what we're doing.
And by the way, when you go look at his website, when you go to Premium Service Brands and you look at Meet the Team, you will see, and naturally it takes a lot of people to run an organization of this size, but you're really going to see a lot of people that are here. And what I always like to say is that if you're a potential franchisee of this organization, this is your support staff. And there's probably more people that aren't listed here, but these are the people who every single day will come in and serve you. And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about business ownership, these companies that have multiple brands are great places to go and explore, have a conversation, and then see if there's a brand that makes sense for you. So let me ask you one last question. Somebody asked me this question, and I'm going to start asking a weird question, totally off the beaten path at the end of this, because this show, I'm going to start making it a little bit more fun. I realize we're about halfway through the year. We've recorded 60-something episodes. I'm ready to mix it up. So you're on death row because you just did something really bad. We're not even going to talk about what it is, but you've got your one last meal that Paul gets to have while he's on this earth. You get to have it, frankly, it's a really nice state that you're in, so you get to have it with your family or whatever you did. You're on death row, but they let you have it with your family. What would you eat?
Downtown Detroit, Michigan, Lafayette, Coney dogs.
Man, that didn't even take any hesitation.
No.
Holy smokes. Like, is there a story here? Were you spend a lot of time in Detroit and you just love those?
Yeah. I went to the University of Windsor, which is right across from the Detroit River.
Okay.
And so we spent a lot of time going to probably more Detroit Red Wings games than I did classes at school. And that was always a favorite spot to hit before or even after the game.
Was it? Okay, cool. Got good memories of that. Good memories.
Yeah.
Paul, I thank you for your time. I thank you for the stuff that you're doing, your vision in helping kids and using business as a purpose-driven vehicle to be able to help people. I think we need more of that in the world. We just do.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's like business is good and we get to go do cool stuff with it, but how cool can we really get in terms of helping people? And specifically maybe people that aren't paying us to do it, right?
That's right.
It's
a lot of
you've been an awesome guest, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and I have two asks. Number one, if this episode resonated with you, chances are there's somebody else in your life, an entrepreneur, somebody who's thinking about getting into business, somebody who's killing it in business that would get empowerment out of Paul's conversation today. Please go ahead and text this episode to them right now. And then just my second ask, we love subscriptions. Help me keep going with this show. So I'd love it if you smash that subscribe button. Until next time, I hope that you have a phenomenal week and be well.